Hi, you're listening to Scribble Talk Teaching, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Zimmermann, and I'll be sitting down with our industry leaders to dive deep into the topics that business winning professionals like you can use to help grow your skills and your business. Today's guest is Janet Follmeyer. Janet has already been interviewed in our episode number 146. If you haven't, please do listen to Janet. But here is a short bio. Janet Follmeyer has 20 plus years of proposal management experience. Currently, she is the bid manager with Verizon's global bid management team, which she joined in 2019 from Comcast headquarters, where she was the proposal manager for enterprise management services segment. Janet has worked in a number of industries, including telecom, cybersecurity, managed services and staffing, pharmacy benefit management services, and publishing. Janet has a bachelor's degree in journalism with a specialism in public relations and a minor in political science from Temple University and an MBA from Holy Family. Janet serves as a chapter president for the APMP Liberty chapter, which includes New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut since 2018, and previously served as the APMP Liberty Programs Chair. There's a lot more to talk about, but today the topic is about how to build leadership skills outside your daily job. Welcome, Janet, again to the talk.
Thank you, Bhaskar. I'm so glad to be here again. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure, Janet. Janet, why is this topic important, Janet?
I brought this topic up, Bhaskar, because one of the things, as proposal professionals in the day-to-day job, depending on the type of company that you work in, you may or may not influence like leadership decisions. For example, like, because I'm at Verizon, there's a limited amount of stuff that I can, realistically change. So, instead of just getting frustrated about that stuff, I think it's important for proposal people to have a broad array of like leadership opportunities, right? So, for example, the APMP Liberty chapter, I got into that, kind of by accident, being on the board. I got an invitation from, to one of the events from one of the board members, and then I went. They used to have things live in New York City, and I thought, wow, this is great. I really enjoyed it. And one of the things when I got involved in that is just the broad array of people, like experts in the industry that you meet. For example, you and, the other thought leaders within APMP and, outside of APMP. And I think it's really good, when I was programs chair, just, to get to meet other people, to hear what other companies are doing, and just to kind of shape the direction of the chapter. So, we are more of a commercial oriented chapter. So we tend to do things a little bit different than, say, the NCA chapter, which is more government focused. So that was one of the reasons. And then just to really shape the programming, I think, if you don't like the programming, or if you want to see something different, like I tell that to the membership quite often, right? Unless you volunteer or have your voice heard, or contribute to what it is we're doing, you can't change things, right? Unless you have, your voice heard. So it's just trying to get, your foot in the door, hear what other people think, just, just go outside your day job, I think is important.
That's very, very, very powerful, Janet. Thank you for landing a very important message very early on in the podcast, which is like you're busy already with your day job, but then coming on board, volunteering for the industry body, from program chair, positioning yourself into the chapter chair and encouraging people to join in. So that you could meet wider industry leaders. Thank you for thank you for adding me to that industry leader. Not many people will be happy with that, but that's okay. But it's I mean, like it's super important. I mean, like, so when did you became? Is it 2018? Was it, Janet, you started?
I 2018 or 2019. I think this is my 4th year, so whatever that would be.
Got it. And how was it? Becoming a member is one. Already, you become a member, and there are tons of resources available both within the general APMP or what we call the international APMP, plus also in chapter, a lot more resources are available. From being a member, what triggered you to join the board or to volunteer for the local chapter?
Sure. It was just, to get involved and hear what other people are doing and just build up my network, primarily. And then, once I volunteered and I was like, this is great. I met some great people along the way, our board, the people on the board, and the past board people. And it was just really great because we become friends, right? One of the really cool things, and when I started with being the chair for APMP Liberty, we only had a joint chapter event. We had a couple with the Nor'easter chapter. So one of the things we talked about is can we do our own event? And that was one of the things that, we had in 2019, which I was, very excited and proud about, our first solo event, which we had at SAP America headquarters. So Jamie let us have our event there, and it just went great. So it you don't know where you're going to land when you start, right? So I was kind of I took over in 2019. We had this event going on, and I went to Verizon at the same time. So there was a lot going on within that end of the year time frame. So it was scary. I won't lie.
I can imagine. I think we all are breaking our comfort zone. It's much easy to sit and do a proposal, right? The question is given and you just find a response, whatever. But coming out, meeting people, and also building confidence, not just within yourself, but also building confidence to the wider members takes a lot of courage. And this episode is a dedication to you and a lot more people like you. Pretty much the whole Scribble talk is around this ethos of sacrifice. So again, from becoming a member, you become programs chair, and from there, Jamie Ninham, another amazing person, and SAP headquarters. So, and then you moved on to become a chapter chair, for example. So, people will be thinking, oh, you know what? I already have a busy career. Then I have my family. I have other things to do. So, approximately, Janet, how much time this sort of volunteering takes you in maybe a quarter or a yearly basis?
Wow, that's a tough question to answer. I mean, I do get that question from people that, when we're trying to get board members to volunteer. If you have like the conference that we had, there was a lot of hours, I'm not gonna lie. So boy, I think on a monthly basis, on a normal year, it's gonna be, 5 hours or more, a month. But when we had the symposium, there was like I think, it was like 4 times that, because, we were planning the event, we were getting the speakers, we were organizing the volunteers, organizing the happy hour, the menu, the travel for the speakers and the expenses and all that, and, organizing all that on top of your, day job. It's a lot of hours. I can't really say specifically how many, but I would say, if you're going to be involved in a board chapter, it's an important question to ask, just to make sure, you can actually commit to it from a work-life balance perspective.
That's important. I think managing expectations is very important. But as you rightly said it out, every single person, including yourself, Janet, I think you could have done so many other things, but you chose to do it. You chose to prioritize this. You chose to give your time, energy, effort for the betterment of others, for the betterment of the local chapter, etc. I think everybody who listened to this, I mean, like, you should try to do it, because it's not about today, but the time that you spend, the confidence that you can use to build on others, that might change somebody's life altogether. It might be a 5-10 minute talk, but him or her might be isolated on their own, but this opportunity, either virtual or even saying hello, asking how are you, etc., it's a massive thing. So having joined the chapter, becoming a member, and also becoming a chair, how do you find yourself, what's the right word, how did it help to build your own confidence, Janet? Like before 2018 to currently 2022, any differences that you see in yourself?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the thing that builds, confidence for me is watching others get confidence and building them up. So one of the things that I like to encourage with the board members is, to put themselves out there, right? So if I think somebody would be a good fit to run a webinar, or suggest, I had one of our board directors, Frank, do the moderating during the symposium, because he was better at it than I am, right? So you just recognize what others are good at, and then when you build their confidence, it in turn builds, my own. But just trying to get a gauge on, who would be the best fit for which activities, and how to best use everybody's unique skill set, I think, to me, is really one of the best things that I've learned.
Totally, Jan. But the APMP Liberty chapter is just one part of what you can do to build leadership skills outside your day job. Talk us through what are the other things that you do at the Jan.
Sure. At my company, Verizon, I got involved in the employee resource groups this year. So I'm on the advanced ERG. So I applied for a leadership position with the organization last fall. And it was kind of like a job interview that you go through. So you do your application, then you have to meet with the existing board members to apply for that. And then this year, late last year, I got named one of the community leads for Advance, which means I sit on the board meetings for that organization. And then we not only, meet members directly, I also work with diversity inclusion, learning and development, the other ERGs throughout Verizon, to build Verizon's brand, hear what, the membership wants, how they want the company to evolve, and then, try to make whatever recommendations and pass those on to the leadership team. That's something that, I've been doing this year. In fact, last month in July, we had Disability Pride Month. So we had, I think, probably about more than 10 or so events that we led. So each board member had an event that they were running. I ran the last event of the month along with the chair, the global chair of the ERG. And we got to talk with the head of talent and diversity, and then also the chief communication officer for the company. We had a fireside chat with them, and it was very nice, and they were really engaged. And and then we were able to also bring up some of the members' questions for the leadership team at that point.
This is even more powerful, Janet. I think number one is, the proposal industry where you belong to, you kind of, they have built up the community there, part of being a chair of the local chapter. But on the other hand, within your company, you also went on to chair as well. I mean, like that takes a lot of courage. Because obviously, going for the day job, just come back and do what it takes is one. But within the company, also representing the employee ERG and also talking to the wider talent and stuff. How was it? I mean, like, I'm sure there could be some hierarchy within the company where you might have met some people whom you have never met. They are senior leaders of the company. How was those interaction? And how was your experience doing that? And also, you might have your own employee related positives and some improvement areas, but when you look at the wider company, that too as a global level, there might be some high level insights that you might got, not just in the United States, but also wider across geography. Talk us through this overall experience about ERG. How long were you there, and what's something powerful or funny, interesting? Just talk us through.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the real highlights that we brought up that I think is important to share is our ERG has now went up to 5,000 plus members, which, a couple years ago, they were at 400 members or something like that. But to go from 400 to 5,000 is amazing. And, we have our past ERG leadership to thank for really building up Advance. But from a global perspective, yeah, that's one of the things that I've been working on as I'm trying to get EMEA involved in with our ERG more. It's a little bit of a time zone issue. Our events tend to be in the afternoon in the United States. So they typically can't join the events. So, I'm talking to them this week, and we're going to try to do something that's, morning time that can accommodate the regions, both regions. But as far as a hierarchy perspective, I mean, yeah, there's a pretty big hierarchy, and it can be scary. I won't lie. I was like, oh my gosh, talking to the chief communications officer of the company, that's a little bit intimidating, right? So I was pretty nervous about that, just from a, we use a platform called Blue Jeans Events. And sometimes it's a little bit tricky, with these online things. So you never know what could go wrong. Actually, and during our broadcast, a bunch of people came on as moderators. So we were trying to get them off at the beginning of the of the event, and then one of the people accidentally hit end broadcast. So we had to restart the event. So it just, goes to show that you always have to be prepared, and, you just roll with it. If something goes wrong, you just power on, right? So that was a lot of fun, I gotta say, but I was not expecting it to stop in the middle.
Was there any tough questions that was put together? Because obviously employee groups means that, there might be some positive, negative comments that might be shared to you.
Yeah. So what we had is that platform has a chat function. So people were able to ask questions, some of which we got to, some of which we did not. So I forwarded those back on to the leadership team for them to answer those. On, like positive, negative, most comments were positive, because we had the increase in membership, but there was also, concerns about, COVID, return to the office, impacts on mental health with the long-term, lockdowns and stuff like that. That's kind of where people are more have been concerned lately. It is also with like, just various health conditions that go around with, just being shut into your house for extended periods of time. Was a topic of interest.
Totally, I think that comes with even more of skill building, right? Because on one end, you have to listen to the employees, you have to listen to the board or the senior leaders, and try to come out with some sort of consensus that works for both sides. In some certain cases, it might not work, but you still kind of find some other compromises or some other benefits for the employees. It sounds like I think you make it sound so simple, Janet, but
yeah, sure.
It's not an easy thing. So that's great. I mean, like on both sides, on this side you have the APMP chapter, on the other side this sounds like a hand-on role as well. So just to come back to the same question that we are just dwelling on, building this sort of skills outside. And I think taking you as an example, you already mentioned, it gave you the opportunity to interact within your own company's leaders and also outside with members with APMP. That leadership skills that we're talking about, can you kind of mention some of the leadership skills that you kind of got it because of this experience?
Sure. A leadership skill is speaking up, trying to get my voice heard. You also have to be patient, and you have to be realistic on how much you can influence, right? So within the company, we're a arm of the company. So, we can't really, we can't change the way things are or what, how the company works. We do have a ability to influence from, being organized and sharing what the membership is saying. Sometimes, people might not be, and it can be both APMP and also my company, but, there might be things that you don't like that, APMP is doing or whatever, but you still have to try to work within those parameters of the organization, because the last thing you want to do is if you're dealing with leadership is to get somebody irritated at you, right? Because you have a pretty high, if you're elevated to this position of authority, you have to balance it between making yourself heard versus being a pest, and not trying to you got to just keep it in the back of your mind. We all work together, we're all in it together, and that's one of the things that that we say on our events is we're all here together. What is shared here stays here is one of the key things within our ERG is, we offer a safe space. We're not going to go and share some of the, what somebody says within the company. It stays within our ERG, because it's important to hear what people are thinking about, and not not taking that and sharing it broader, because if we were to do that, you wouldn't have the trust there. So I think, to get back to your question, I think it's just being organized. Project management is really key. We have our events, we have a whole board of people who take parts of what we do, like communication. We have the operations people, and they have a pretty good organization for the events. But, obviously we have to go through a lot of approvals before we can send out stuff. So it's really important to plan to be organized, and then also have a yearly plan on what you want to accomplish. And that's important for both like APMP and then also within the company. We have like these are the goals of each quarter. For example, this is what we want to do in the last quarter of the year. What we have coming up, I believe, is career, and then we have community, and then I forget the other two, but you know, to have a theme of what you're doing and not just have events for the sake of having events, having impact on those events. One of the things we do after the events is, you know, how many people were attending. Besides that, just kind of a gauge of how impactful was the event, because you might have an event. We had an event a couple months back. It wasn't highly attended because of the time, but it really was impactful because even though people that weren't able to join, I shared the recording and it got some traction within leadership on people that were trying to help us with some of the things that were brought up during that webinar.
Again, Janet, as you rightly said, you know what, it's so easy to ask for more responsibilities, but the responsibilities comes with certain behavior, as you rightly said. Sometimes we might not be ready for it, but we have to think the way we behave is not just going to impact us, but it's also, as you rightly said, will impact a lot of people. So how do you, it's as, how do you behave as a leader? It's a wider question. Again, you made it sound simple there, but again, either ERG role or this APMP chapter role, might tested you personally with some challenging questions. Again, it's also about building some rapport, building some support network. Jenna, talk us through, on one end, you're going beyond and building this leadership skills outside your work, but how did you help or made yourself accountable for these roles? Do you have any support network, or how did you help yourself going for this?
Sure. I mean, it's been tough with the amount of stuff going on. One of the things with the rapport building that you mentioned is I have been able to work directly with our global lead. And she's really great communicator, really spot on. You can ask her to do an event with no notice, and it's like she prepped for a year. So I've been just working with her. We planned the last event. I helped her develop the questions and the talk track, but just kind of knowing that I'm not, I haven't been there that long. These other people have been with the company for years. They've been involved in the ERG way longer than me. They have the knowledge, the history, kind of the whys. Certain things are done the way they are. And it's important to learn from them. And then, how can I help the leaders within the organization? I think that to me is key. It's not just trying to, put it on my resume, hey, I did this, but it's really to try to accomplish something. I think that to me is more important than, just saying I did something. It's like, what the impact did I have? And then how do I work within, what I can do, considering the demands of my day job and, the APMP demands, and then life demands, right? So it's really important to build those relationships, as you rightly said, because the global chair was picked for a reason. So I learned a lot from her this year, for sure.
100%, Janet. Again, a part of Bachelor's ethos or values, we always say number 1 is build confidence, number 2 is seek purpose, number 3 is make an impact. Again, you are the prime example of what we mean by the number 1 is you build your confidence to take up these roles. Second, your underlying principle is to make an impact, which is what you did. And within this, you just said, no, what I need to do something, rather than to tick along, which is how you seek your purpose, which is brilliant. I mean, like, thank you for sharing that, Janet. I'm sure, on one end, part of a global bid management profession, 20 plus years experience, it's already busy, career. And then you top on with, as you rightly said, a lot more hours spent on with the local chapters doing what you're doing, and then going back and being part of the global ERG team. So within all these things, Janet, has it made you more happy than how you were before doing this old roles?
Yeah, sure. It has. I mean, one of the things, when you're in proposals, it can get a little bit boring after a while. You know what I mean? And then I like to switch it up. I'm not proud of this, but I've been a frequent job hopper, right? And that's one of the ways in the past that I kind of combated boredom, is I would change industries or change companies. And I think that's also important for people to think about, is, we know that most people are not going to stay with a company for their whole career. So I think trying to just build your broad skill set and experience and get out of your comfort zone, because, we see coming up, there's been quite a bit of layoffs that I've noticed on LinkedIn, and it's scary. And in fact, Catherine Bennett and the proposal industry experts, they just recently had a event where they talked about the recession proofing. And I thought that was a really great webinar recently. But it's just to try to build your broader skill set, because right now, it's a little bit scary out there, right? From a job perspective for a lot of folks today.
Well said there. I mean, like, it's totally true. I think it's nice of you, even at this level, keep learning and also sharing the information as well, and that's the thing. I think the only way, if you just do the same job again and again, you're going to get the same results. And in this case, on one end, yes, you have a talent crisis, but on the other end, the problems that you're solving has changed massively, which means that you need to update yourself, not just technically, but also overall with the wide interpersonal skills. Again, this talk, I hope, will inspire people to go beyond what they always know, to try new things, to also take up roles, volunteer for APMP, volunteer outside APMP, take up roles within the company, or to come and share. We have a forum, it could be podcast or webinars or something. Come and share your journey, expertise, and also Catherine's, the PIE that you talked about, the PI, man of the forum. Again, everybody is trying to help the community, and again, be part of it, share it, do it. Before we close the episode, Janet, final 3 pointers on why people need to build leadership skills outside their job.
Sure. I think we said it a couple of times, but get out of your comfort zone, number one. Don't be fearless, right? Don't be afraid of making your voice heard. Some people, it's like, if not me, then who is the last point, right? It's just being involved as well. Like, even if you don't want to be a leader within APMP chapter or APMP board, it's important to just, make your voice heard. Yeah, do whatever you can. You can volunteer for events. You don't necessarily, need to make the commitment that I have, but it's important to just get yourself out there and get outside your comfort zone and just build up your leadership skills.
Nice, Janet. Thank you so much, Janet. I think this is a super important episode, especially where we are looking. I think the next 1 or 2 years is going to be tough at every single level, both for business owners, for industry leaders, and also for any professional looking into those. And it's only people who adapt, who actually learn more, most implementally, not just learning more, but actually implementing what they learned is going to be much more successful. And here we have Janet as a prime example, continuing to learn, continuing to tweak little things here and there, but at the same time making impact wherever she can. Janet, thank you so much for joining Scribble Talk Teaching. An absolute privilege as always to host you. Wish you, your family, everybody around you, all the good health and happiness. Continue to volunteer more, continue to inspire us, continue to be the beacon of hope that we always see you. Thank you so much, Janet.
Thank you, Bhaskar. I really appreciate it. And same to you, same to everybody listening. I hope everybody has a great and healthy and relaxing rest of your summers. Thanks for inviting me. It's been my pleasure and privilege to talk to you today.
Thank you, Janet.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchyscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundram,
signing off.